All right, let's see. Let's throw this back here. Oh man, it's kind of a little bright. So I gotta find that right. All right. Let's see. We got some moderators. All right. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It would be nicer if we could have that type of spell, but all right, that's okay. I'm still here. Everything's all right. Things happen. Okay, so let's see right there. Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you and the mercy and blessings of Allah. We will begin today's live session in the name of God, the most gracious, most merciful. We want to definitely always have a positive message. This is an Islamic channel for anybody looking into Islam, learning about Islam, trying to uncover something you've heard that you're not sure about, or learn more about. You could be a revert right now, someone who just recently reverted to Islam. All that is acceptable, it's fine. What we don't do on this channel is debate. We're not here to debate. We are here to preach a message to believe in one God worthy of worship, loving God, how we can apply to our day-to-day lives what the message of the Quran teaches us. And honestly, I understand people have some bias towards the religion. I live here in America. I've experienced a great deal of racism or bias or whatever, but I did want to do my part in at least talk about Islam, put myself out there. Anyone who has questions, anyone looking into Islam or wants to just be genuine, trying to improve their own character, that is super important, and we can do that from a lot of different perspectives, but my perspective is using my religion to do that. K1TTY, what is going on? How are you? Thank you for joining the live. Ash Renee, I hope you're having a lovely day. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate you. I've opened up this live channel for anyone that is looking into Islam, wanting to learn about Islam. Maybe you've just become a revert and you'd like to have a little bit of motivation, some inspiration. And so all that really is just what this platform is for. It's a safe place and safe environment. I'm trying to build a community of believers or people who are looking into becoming believers for the sake of Allah, for the sake of God. And sometimes people just want to better themselves. They're looking to better themselves, their day to day. So.
One free. You pay for one only.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. Yeah. So please, if you have any questions, if you feel like you're struggling with something, if there's a certain situation that's going on with your life and you feel comfortable sharing it with, minimal information, I'm happy to, talk about these things. A lot of the references that I have, do I have a girlfriend? I'm married. I'm married to a Latina who reverted to Islam. I've been happily married for 5 years. And yeah, that's that. And if you did want to know that information, I don't mind sharing these things. I have children, I have a family. I live in San Diego, California. Jazakallah khair, thank you so much. Are you married? And if you are married, Are you happy in that marriage? Do you find yourself questioning how you could be better in that marriage? If you're not married, why not? And is there a special someone you'd like to be married to? Marriage is a very important thing. Finding that right partner. What's up, Y Padilla? Welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining. I'm genuinely interested. Hi, how's it going there? It's Kyla. Appreciate you having you on here on the live. Yes, Ash Renee, I do. I have two children. I have a 10-year-old and an 8-year-old, girl and boy. Alhamdulillah. They are a huge inspiration in my life. I struggle every day for them, and I do that honorably and lovingly. They're absolutely worth it. Anyone who has children, I think, understands that when you have children, they put that boost in you, so to say. Children can be difficult, but I look at it, I genuinely love all of the challenges that arise from it. Luke Mayer, how's it going? Or Luke Meyer, I apologize. Hello, how are you? Thank you for joining the chat. I'm always, again, interested. Anyone, when you come to the chat, if you're your first time here, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. I am trying to build a community of people that would genuinely just want to improve their character. You know, I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. How's it going there? 215 Jen, how's it going? Thank you for coming. So I'm originally from Egypt. My parents and I moved to America maybe like in the late 1970s. I have 5 sisters. I have 2 brothers. I grew up in America most of my life. Was raised mostly in Brooklyn, a little bit in Jersey. I went to school at Rutgers University, and then studied exercise physiology. And from there, I essentially moved out to California and continued my education in exercise physiology and a master's degree in education as well. And from there, I traveled the world. I was really blessed and fortunate. I traveled the world 3 times over, working for schools and universities, mostly American schools, writing curriculum. And that has then led me on a really wonderful journey because I was able to experience different cultures, different countries, different backgrounds. Thank you, 2115. I appreciate you. And from my experience, I've worked with over 20,000 students, and that really has allowed me to see a lot of people's perspectives, the way they love to learn, the way their life is set up, how certain cultures treat their children from a parent to child perspective. How's it going there, Georgette? Thank you for joining. I appreciate you. And again, that experience working in probably, I would say, over 14 different countries. So I was in China, in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, in Shanghai, also a little bit of Sri Lanka, Ecuador. I was in South America for a little bit. Traveled and worked mostly in the Middle East, in Qatar, in Oman, in Dubai, in Egypt. Worked a little bit in Holland, a little bit in Italy. And so just really a lot of different countries, different cultures, different backgrounds. And now that I'm kind of here on the West Coast, I'm in San Diego now, just really trying to pursue that next level, which essentially is my PhD in counseling and mental health. And I've chosen to do that because I want to be able to help anybody who has any type of a challenge or any kind of problem going on in their life. I genuinely like to help people. I like to use that experience. So, I am a Muslim. Well, as a Muslim growing up in America, I've experienced a lot of racism myself. I've experienced a lot of people judging me just because of what they heard on the media, which I think is very silly, but it is a reality. And so essentially just putting myself out there has then led me to build this community. And I've recently I've gone on a venture. I've opened up and started my own non-for-profit here in California. It's called Word Action Deed. And the non-for-profit essentially is going to be here to serve orphans first and foremost. So that's really the first thing. That would be a wonderful thing for me to accomplish in opening up an orphanage that I can support. Obviously, people who don't have parents or are no longer, unfortunately, parents are with them, and they're struggling. And so that's going to be the biggest goal. Um, and then the second thing would be to do water wells in villages and areas where they don't really have access to clean water. That'll be the second goal of Word Action Deed. Again, this is the nonprofit I started not too long ago. And, these things take time, but if you are able to articulate your message and you genuinely care, these things do have momentum. And I feel like that's a really good, purposeful way to live my life, right? And that's what I've chosen for myself. I'm not saying everybody else has to do that, but if I can use Word Action Deed as a way to do good things in this world on your behalf, on my behalf, on anyone who wants to, then I think that'll be just like a great thing. A lot of the original money that's gone into Word Action Deed has just come from my own living, my own savings, and essentially I'm doing my own things little by little, where I'm taking my kids and we're going out in the communities and we're trying to help, for example, people that are struggling economically, living in the streets, unfortunately, with the cost of living in America going crazy high. A lot of people are becoming homeless. A lot of people are having money problems. And a lot of people have bad addictions due to the stresses that they're placed under. There is self-responsibility, there is a self-accountability on everyone, but at the same time it's good to have empathy. I think every single one of us at some point in our life, it was nice to have someone to lean on, and also someone that showed that they cared. I'll give you an interesting study, with my education background, working with over 20,000 students. I did a nice brief survey with a lot of the students across over like 9 years. The survey was conducted, and one of the questions, no problem, Georgette, come back anytime. One of the things that I asked consistently to every single student, like what's the one thing that makes you want to learn or come to school or want to improve your life? And about 64% of all the answers across about 20,000 people, it was very common. And I found that very interesting. It taught me a lot about what humans yearn. And the answer was, I don't know if any of you can guess. So the question again was, what makes you learn? What makes you want to go to school? What inspires you to be better? Those types of questions. And the common answer, about 64%, responded by saying because someone in their life cares about them. Someone at that school cares about them. Someone in their community, whether it be, their coach, their teacher, the janitor, the lunch lady, cares about them. And that's what they would literally write down. And I thought that was really interesting. It taught me that humans love connection, and we are very inspired and motivated when someone shows sincere care for us, right? Think about that. You could think if, for any problem you have in your life, if you have someone sincerely saying, hey, I care about you, I will be there with you, I will help you through this, that lifts up our spirits right away. That really does. I mean, I could speak for myself when I say that. And then, just being an educator, I've seen time and time again, when you show someone you genuinely care, when their birthday is, what motivates them, what they're trying to accomplish in their life, you show interest in their lives, it lifts their spirits. And then they want to actually go, to school or go learn or go be better simply because you're a positive person in their life. Hey, go to my school there, a prayer. Jordan, yeah. I mean, hey, man, let me know where your school is and I'll send you a prayer for sure. 2115, good night to you too. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you. I will be doing more of these lives, but absolutely nice of you to join and say hello and good night. Thank you. So this is kind of the first time actually I've done it on a Friday at this time. I usually do them around noon. And I said, let me try the later half in the day and see what kind of response I get. See if it's a different community. It's not always good to go out on a Friday and, unfortunately, the culture here in America is like Friday night has to be a crazy night, or Friday night has to be a night we go out and do something. No, it could be a night to self-reflect. It could be a night to just relax, take it easy. Sometimes like what we watch on TV when we open up Netflix or Amazon or Apple TV or anything, it's just the same old nonsense. Or maybe you just finished your most favorite series, and instead of like having your heart broken, you open up a live YouTube channel and you realize it's a conversation. It's a conversation in a way where if it's something you can apply in your life, something meaningful, then I hope it helps, right? And so that's really it. That's the community. I know it takes time. It's something I'm willing to build. I think I've had this channel open up now for a little over a year, but I hadn't really gone into it up until recently. Right? I want to say the last 2 months is when I started taking it a little bit more serious and kind of doing more lives and trying to produce some content that at least, if you're looking to just purify your heart, get closer to God, try your best to learn, even if, like, let's say, Islam or being Muslim is not something for you, but you're just trying to learn. Because you know what, when misinformation is out there and we just complain about it, then it just spreads like wildfire. It just, you know what I mean? More ignorance spreads, more misinformation, more misleading stuff. When you then take action on what you can control, so I can give this information to you, you can fact check everything I say, and then by doing that, you learn, I learn, we build a community, there's trust there, and hopefully you find some of the stuff I say as valuable content, valuable information that you can learn and share with others. So, Ash Renee, welcome back. Thank you again for joining, and I appreciate you. Any questions? I'm always curious to see, like, if the prompts that I put up, the photo, if people have a genuine interest, if they have any questions. I've had so many different friends throughout the course of my life always ask me, like, hey, I'm seeing and hearing this on the media or the channel, whatever, the TV, but I see you doing that, the opposite. Like, what's up with that? How come this is being said, but then in practice, I see someone like you doing the opposite? And I tell them, faith always goes back to the person. Don't look at a country and then like decide this is what the faith is. That would be like bad judgment. Don't look at a certain small minority group of people and say this is what the faith is. Like, that's just, it's not effective. You're not going to get an accurate barometer. It's not going to be a good reading of that. If you want to know what Islam is, A, go to the scripture, the Quran, and B, talk to a Muslim. Talk to someone who's a Muslim, who's a practicing Muslim, not someone who says they're Muslim. There's a big difference, right? We know there's someone who says they're Christian versus someone who displays very beautiful Christian behaviors. We know someone when they say there's something, but then they display opposite types of behaviors. We can sense that. Humans pick up very quickly on sincerity. It's instinct in us to know if someone's sincere or someone's kind of conniving or deceiving. And so I always like to give prompts, and it's an inquiry-based approach. Ask questions as long as you're being respectful. I tend to block people who are just attacking or saying very ignorant things. I don't think there's already enough enmity in this world. You know what I mean? Like there's enough enmity and hatred going around. I don't need to add to that. What we need to do is just try to figure out what's the purpose of my life? How can I make my life better? How can I improve my day-to-day? How can I take that day-to-day and make my life better and the people I love better? And I think if you do that, I mean, wow, right? If that's your focus, where like you're just trying to improve your life, and you have actual examples on how to improve your life, man, come on. I think that's going to be a life way more meaningful than just going around gossiping or listening to some silly media channel spread more hatred or more misinformation. I mean, that's kind of what's cool today is we have a lot of independent channels. You can hop on YouTube and you can follow someone that you kind of like their perspective. It's an independent channel. You know, that's what's kind of unique about today versus like 20 years ago when like you just had to turn on the TV and then that was kind of really the only way. Nowadays, you could follow someone that, you know, is sharing information in an articulate way. It's a factual way. It's a way that benefits you. And so, you know, my goal, I would love to have just like a character development channel, you know. And, you know, people always ask, oh, you know, what's your faith? Or are you this or are you that? Yeah, I'm a Muslim. I say that, you know, and I say that regardless of whatever bias is out there. People want to go ahead and spew the bias. You're not going to get better. I mean, me as just an educator, what I always do is I walk into a room and I want to see what I could learn first, not what I can like tell everybody, right? Obviously, in this format, it's kind of me talking and you guys asking questions. So I tend to talk based off of really the message I'm trying to deliver in for that particular moment, that particular time. And then if somebody has certain specific questions, I try to be respectful and address it. So that's the manner. That's where I'm at. I'm happy. If anybody has any questions, please ask in the comments. I don't know why YouTube doesn't have like an ability to kind of like put people on the panel where you can like audio and talk to each other and ask each other questions. I'm not sure why YouTube hasn't had that yet, you know, like TikTok I know does, where you can like have a live channel and then like you can have like 12 spots and people can kind of join and they can have a discussion. You know, that's kind of a cool concept. So I'm hoping TikTok will kind of upgrade their systems pretty soon. With that said, any questions? What made you, you know, did the prompts that you saw for this live channel, what did you think when you saw it, you know? I'm always curious to see like who's out there and why they're interested, right? And it kind of usually spirals into good conversation. And sometimes you just got to be patient, you know. You got to be patient for the right people to cross your paths and you cross their paths. That's part of life, you know. As humans, sometimes we want everything right away. We want it now. You know what I mean? But that's reality is no, life is going to give you what you deserve at its due time. And for me, that's submitting to God, that's believing in God, that's trying my best every day to get better. And it doesn't have to be something like completely profound. It doesn't have to be a huge measurement. It could be something very, very small. Like I won't use my tongue today, or I'll minimize as best as I consciously can to not, you know, gossip about anybody. You know, sometimes it's so easy for us to just talk about other people. They're not even around. That's a form of gossip, right? And so I've worked on that. That's just one small thing. I'm giving that as an example. Like I'll literally be conscious. If I bring up somebody else's name or, you know, whatever, it has to be in a positive light. I cannot say, oh, this person, you know, a negative light. Can't. I would be gossiping. And gossiping is a sin in Islam. And so like I want to use my tongue then to talk about information, talk about sharing knowledge, talk about positive attitudes. You know, you could train your brain to go away from negative types of conversations and talk. And then guess what ends up happening? You end up attracting the types of people that are just like that, right? People that don't like to gossip, that don't like to slander, that don't like to give bad information, because you yourself are upholding your own self to this type of, you know, let's say a minimum standard. Now, that doesn't mean you're perfect. You know, people always kind of say, oh, you know, you're on this self-righteous approach. It's not about that. It's not about perfection. It's about improvement. If you can see your life through a lens of improvement, you will always be able to overcome whatever the condition that you're in because you're improving. You're slowly improving something. You know, you're slowly working on something, and your expectation isn't to necessarily snap your fingers and everything's resolved, but rather you're improving something in your life that means something to you, right? So for me, my soul matters. How I feel and how I self-reflect on my soul matters to me. And when I'm self-reflecting, how can I improve then, therefore, my soul? So maybe I can concentrate on prayer. Maybe I can fast certain days of the week. Maybe I can remove certain types of foods that cause me to feel junky, you know, after I eat them. Maybe I can remove certain kinds of speech. I don't curse, I don't gossip, I don't slander, I don't spread any kind of misinformation. I'm not willing to parrot something that I heard. I'll fact check things. I'll do my due diligence, so to say. And again, that is all piece by piece according to you, according to what you see, how you see yourself. You know, people don't want to necessarily hold themselves accountable because holding self accountable means that you have to self-reflect. You have to look within. You have to see where you're not perfect, which none of us are perfect, but where I can improve. A lot of people have a hard time with that. They struggle with that. Why do they struggle with that? A lot of different reasons. People struggle with self-improvement for a lot of different reasons. Maybe they were shamed a lot, you know, growing up. Maybe they've had a lot of trauma. Maybe they've had situations where it was easier to not address the accountability and easier to just keep moving on, you know, with the next thing. Maybe this person or an individual might lack empathy for one reason or another. All that are many reasons, right? People live in the digital more than the physical. Thank you, Sarah Mahmoud. I appreciate your input there. You know, nowadays we have so much technology, so much media that a lot of people are out of touch with humanity. A generation of hiding behind screens. I totally get that. It's a little ironic because we're on screens right now ourselves, right? But it's true. It's like since I am always just interacting with a digital screen, so to say, I don't really need to hold myself accountable. And then you get these keyboard warriors that just say anything nasty and do anything nasty and watch anything nasty. There's no accountability. There's nobody saying, hey, you know, in real life, like growing up, I grew up in the 80s, you know, if you overstepped your boundaries, someone put you in your place really quickly. You know, it was very quick. And so it was good because then you learned boundaries. You learned that I can't just say whatever I want just because I have freedom of speech. I have to be careful with the words. You know, words have meanings, you know. That's it. That's just a fact. Words do have meanings, and even though people say, "Oh, words don't mean anything," that's not true. Words mean a lot. A lot of things you say have an effect on your own psyche. If you're not going to care about what other people think about what you say because you're one of those people, and I'll say whatever I want to say, you know, at the end of the day, the words you say have an effect on your own psyche, on your own mentality, on your own sense of self-worth and self-confidence and self-esteem. It does. It really does. If you're speaking and using certain words that are positive, encouraging, enlightening, cooperative, collaborative, you're gonna formulate a brain that allows you to persevere. If you're always shaming yourself or talking bad about other people, and you're not willing to hold yourself accountable, and everybody else is a jerk, and everyone else is bad, and everyone else is the problem, you're gonna struggle in life. Why? Not because I said so, no, but because there's no sense of self-reflection or accountability. And I think we could all relate there. So I like what you said there, Sarah Mahmoud. You know what I mean? If you hide behind a screen, then that screen becomes your mirror. And so if that screen is just how I interact, right, with myself, how I interact with everything, it becomes my mirror, right? It's important. Like I have kids, and I always I'm careful with how my children are using their screen time, how they're using their iPads. You know, I'll say, hey, you can have an hour of iPad time, but you could only use these 3 things, right? No feedback loops. You could only use these 3 things. So you can, you can learn a new language, and they can go on their Duolingo app. You can watch a video that is educational, learn how to make something, how to build something. Maybe you want to learn how to bake a cake or make a pizza or something like that. I'm totally okay. That's cool. You could also look at nature. You could, how many of us grew up watching some kind of animal channel that showed us what nature's like? I mean, is that a thing anymore? Does anyone even do that anymore? I love doing that. I think it's so cool when you watch like some of these, David Attenborough and all these like amazing people that show you like wildlife and sea life and all these things. It doesn't have to be all, self desires and self entertainment. It could actually be something that's healthy for our brains, like the whole society in general here, not for everybody, but you see a lot of degeneration. You see a lot of it. You see a lot of anxiety. A lot of people have anxiety. They don't know how to necessarily like have self-composure. They find it very, very hard, if anyone confronts them, how to just respond without like melting. There's a lot of anxiety in our society. A lot of times people will just like hide, like kind of dig their head in the sand, and that none of that's gonna help anybody on a personal level. Let's be real. It's not gonna help us on a personal level. What does help us on a personal level? Holding ourselves accountable, having self-reflection. So when I look at myself and I say, okay, what's one small thing, and you should, do this for yourself. What's one small thing that I can improve, right? Ask yourself that question. And don't feel bad about asking yourself that question. People crash out at the smallest things nowadays. As an educator, I see it. I work with, a large amount of the public and, all students of all different ages. And you'll see how people freak out about really small things like, oh, my mom said this to me, then therefore, well, if you don't have, certain mechanisms that help you regulate whatever these problems are that when they occur, you're going to blow them out of proportion. And if you blow them out of proportion, who gets affected the most there? It's you or me, whoever. Like if we're in that situation and we blow things completely out of proportion, then we are the ones that suffer from that, right? But if we know and have some mechanisms how to self-regulate, how to self-reflect, how to breathe when we're in a tough situation, right? A lot of people don't use even that mechanism of breathing. They'll get tight, their muscles will get tight, they'll breathe less, they'll have shorter breaths instead of longer breaths. Like if I'm stressed in a situation or there's some kind of pressure put on me, the first thing I'll tell myself is as cheesy as it sounds, take 10 deep breaths. And then you know what? The oxygen going to my brain will calm me down, will bring my stress level down, will help me to come up with a more clear path to, solving that problem or situation. And even if I can't get out of that situation, but at least now I've placed myself, I've regulated myself. So I talk this way to a lot of the people in my life and, obviously on this channel, because this channel is genuinely here to help your character, help my character. That's really it. It's not about perfection. I always get people that say, blah, 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 you're being self-righteous, blah, 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 easier said than done. If you have this victim mentality all the time and everyone is either being self-righteous or everyone is always just, spewing something that's easier said than hate. If that's your mentality, then that's how you're going to perceive the world and that's how you're going to perceive yourself. But if you have, let me challenge you here. Let me push back. If you have the kind of mind where you're inquiry-based, so I'm willing to ask questions about myself and about the world, and I'm willing to then self-reflect and say, okay, this situation is tough. how can I perceive it so that I get better in this small way? And I always say small intentionally because people, when we talk about change, we think that that change has to be like a huge magnitude. It could be very small. It could be very small. I'll give you one example because you're probably like, this guy likes to talk. He's not giving me something real. Let me give you something real. Each of us wake up every morning. Yes? It's a fact, okay? You know, God willing, we wake up tomorrow with a new day. Each of us wake up every morning. Self-reflect on how you wake up in the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes. What do you actually do? Not what you like to do, not what you think you do, but what do you actually do when you first wake up the first 5 or 10 minutes? Some people will be funny about that. No worries. You could be funny. Sense of humor is good. But in all seriousness, if you break down, and self-reflect, what do I do the first 5 or 10 minutes when I wake up? Is it reach for my phone? Is it look and see who texted me? Do I open up an app? Am I looking at the news? Am I thinking, oh my gosh, how horrible or miserable or whatever my life is? I don't know. I'm throwing out some of these scenarios that I've experienced from other people and from myself. Or when you open your eyes, the first thing, right? You've been sleeping for however many hours, you wake up. Have you trained your brain when you wake up, the first thing you do is you talk to yourself and say, I'm grateful for. Try that. I've given you one real practice, a small real practice you could put into your day-to-day. I challenge you, when you wake up in the morning, when you first open your eyes and now you know, okay, I'm awake, I'm not going back to sleep, I want you to think of 3 or 5 things that you're grateful for and repeat that back to yourself. Call me crazy, call me whatever you want, I don't care. This is a practice that you could put into practice and it will benefit your life tenfold. Why? Because when we first wake up, our brains are then reverting from the REM and all these sleep patterns and then coming to consciousness. So what is so powerful about coming to consciousness? You're waking up, you're setting a new tone, you're able to program your brain, a pathology. You're really building a pathology in your system to benefit yourself. So if I wake up tomorrow morning, right away, I don't reach for my phone and I say, I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful that I have a bed, a home, food, a comfortable place to sleep. I'm grateful for this or that person in my life that I know loves me. I'm grateful for having a mom or dad. I'm grateful for having a job. I'm grateful for, it could be anything. I don't know your life. You know your life. You have to self-reflect and name 3 to 5. If you want to do 7, you want to do 10, no problem. There's no wrong number. But what I'm trying to say is, put that into practice on a daily basis and watch how much more willpower you will have, how much more perseverance you will have for your own life to benefit your own mental state, your own attitude, your own day-to-day. I can go on and give you a whole lot more examples. Let me know if you'd like to know more. Let me know if you found that last thing helpful or not helpful. I can give you more stuff. If this is something that you appreciate, give me a thumbs up. You know what I mean? Give me a like if you haven't been able to give me a like. I try to always pinpoint it to 1 or 2 small things I can improve on in my life. And that state of mind has given me an ability to not always try to take leaps, even though sometimes leaps are good, and instead just take little steps, right? So what's nice is if you give your life and your brain and your body little successes, you feel a sense of better achievement, higher self-esteem, a little bit more confidence. When you give yourself some kind of goal that is really hard to attain and you don't achieve it, what happens internally is you feel defeated, you feel let down. Your brain really isn't building a super strong pathology, although some people do persevere that way, but the majority of people will not. The majority of people will persevere by giving themselves small, little, tiny tasks of self-improvement.
I need to pick up the phone.
Okay, you got it. Small tasks of self-improvement. So, has anyone ever tried that? I'm genuinely asking to anyone joining the live chat, or it is in the live chat. Has anyone ever, when they first wake up, not reach for the phone, not look at media, not think of anything negative, but instead, literally, like let's just say you're in your bed, you open your eyes, and you've trained your brain the first 5 minutes, 2 minutes, when you're laying in that bed, you're saying to yourself 3 to 5 to 7 positive things you're grateful for. And if you have done it, please let me know your experience. If you haven't done it, are you willing to try that? Are you willing to implement something small like that in your life to build, some of these good habits? I hope you are willing to do it. I've kind of spoken a little bit. I've given a few tips. Hopefully you guys can learn that our brains have pathways. We formulate those pathways based off of how we think of ourselves, how we think of others, how we allow others to talk to us, the types of conversations we engage ourselves in. That's literally what formulates a lot of our pathology. Okay, obviously there's other forces, there's external forces, that's why ads work so well, because they are externally, subliminally also kind of creating a pathology. However, you have the control to think and set the tone of what attitude you want each and every day. Easier said than done, someone will think or say. No, it's just a form of discipline. That's really what it is. It has nothing to do with easier said than done and that type of victim mentality. No, it's a form of discipline. I'm going to choose to do this. I will self-reflect. I will choose to be grateful, and I will remind myself of 3, 5, 7 things I'm grateful for when I first wake up. You could also do this right before you go to sleep. Sometimes the sleep part when you go to sleep isn't so easy because we fall asleep on the couch. We fall asleep when we go to bed real quick. Sometimes we're not, we fall asleep, outside of our will. But when you wake up, right, you're choosing to wake up. So there's a choice. There's a control mechanism there. I've waken up. I'm awake now. I'm not going to continue sleeping. You've made those choices, right? So then you have a little bit more control there versus I'm really, really tired at night and I fall asleep, It's a little bit harder, but it's also really good to do also at night. Very, very effective. If you can do this in the morning when you first wake up, before you touch the phone, before you talk to anyone even, some of us, might have spouses or partners or children. I'm talking 2 to 5 minutes first thing in the morning when you wake up. Try it. I want you to try it, and I hope you can come back on this channel and share, that experience. Hey, I've been doing this now for 3 days. I feel a little bit better. I've been doing this now for a week. My anxiety's gone down a lot. I've been doing this now, and I've been able to accomplish more throughout my day. I'll give you probably 4 or 5 other things you could directly do to change your life in small increments. But if you do them consistently, it will become huge for you. Huge, right? Because what's your greatest currency? Ask yourself. What's the greatest currency you have in your life? Some of you are going to say, oh, it's my dollar, right? It's my money. No problem. That could be a form. That could be one instrument in your life to help you. It shouldn't be the most important one. But if it is, fine. But what's your currency? I'll tell you what my currency is. The greatest currency that I have in my life is having tranquility. is having peace of mind. Having the ability to be grateful for being content, even though I may desire something more in my life, but I'm content. I can say that I have a home. I could say I have food, right? I could say I have health, although I've had health issues in my life, or scarcity issues in my life. I think we've all gone through something like that. We could all relate to that. But I'm literally choosing to be grateful for the condition that I'm in rather than choosing to think that I need more. Now, don't get me wrong. I would like more in certain things. You know what I mean? I would like more free time to be able to spend with my family. No problem. It's okay to want more of something, but the main point is I'm choosing to be grateful for what I have. That in itself is going to now give you a foundation to build upon yourself in a positive manner, in a way that is only so profound for yourself. Forget about the world for a second. I can't change the world. You know, they say in an airplane, you know, when those masks come down, they say put the mask on yourself first before you help someone else. There's a big reason for that. Who are you going to help if you're not getting oxygen yourself? If your brain's not properly working and you're not breathing in the oxygen that you need, why do you think you're going to be in any way effective to help someone else? You might be a little bit effective to help someone else, but ultimately it won't be effective because you're not getting the oxygen you need for your own brain. What good is it that I help everybody else, but then my own life crashes down? So then just reverse that. Keep that positive attitude. Choose to be grateful for the condition you are in. Self-reflect and tell yourself, I'm grateful for these 3 things, these 5 things every single morning when you first wake up. Choose then to be your current condition. Choose that your current condition is not the best condition, but I'm grateful for it. Oh, you don't live my life. You don't know my situation. You don't know my problems. Let me tell you something. Through my travels and my line of work, every single person that you will meet, whether you know it or not, has some kind of serious problem. Doesn't matter what you see on the outside. Oh, that person's life is perfect. Man, they got all the money. They got all the clothes. They have the best partner, the best spouse, best children. Whatever it is that you see from the outside, I promise you that every single person is going through some type of individual hardship. I promise you, it's just a fact. You know, once you've dealt with enough people and you've counseled enough people and heard enough people's problems, you learn that no matter what socioeconomic status, where you're from, what faith you have, you will quickly learn that each human on this earth is encountering some type of major difficulty. I bet you sometimes if you knew what their difficulty was, you'd be darn grateful that you don't have that problem. Wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. On that note, thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe to the channel. This was kind of just a nice soft message for anyone willing to learn or want to listen on a thing or two. Hopefully you could implement that positive thing when you first wake up in the morning, the first 2 to 5 minutes when you open your eyes. Talk to yourself of 3 to 5 to 7 things you're grateful for before reaching for anything else that day. Do that first. All right? And do that consistently. Don't do it once and think everything's going to change. Do it consistently, do it sincerely, and just see how your day goes. See how, if you have less anxiety and you feel better. See if your week is a little bit smoother. See if you're able to solve your problems a little bit better. Maybe the relationships you have are a little smoother. Look for the nuances. Build your life one small step at a time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.